All right, hey everyone, ready to up our personal finance game? You guys sent over this YouTube video from Humphrey Yang, and it's seriously full of solid advice. 10 crucial lessons, he says, so let's dive in.
I think you made a great pick with this one. It's clear that Yang's background as a former financial analyst really comes through. He keeps it practical, you know?
Absolutely. Okay, so first up, it's all about delayed gratification. He has this buy it twice rule, and I gotta say, that's relatable. Ever been tempted by something you knew you probably couldn't afford, like, twice?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a smart way to stop and think before you spend, but it goes deeper than that, you know?
Yeah.
Applies to investing too. Holding on to investments for the long term, 10, 30, even 50 years, that's when you get the magic of compounding working for you.
Okay, so break it down. Compounding, for those of us who might need a refresher, what's it really mean for our money?
Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. Start small, but as it rolls, it picks up more and more snow, right? Getting bigger and bigger. That's compounding. Your money earns interest, and then that interest earns interest on top of it. A snowball effect, but for your savings.
Okay, that makes total sense. No wonder the finance folks are always talking about the power of time and patience. And speaking of, Yang actually used this principle when he was deciding about a new job. He passed on a bigger salary to go after some long-term career goals instead.
Yeah, great example. It shows how delayed gratification isn't just about stuff. It's about, you know, all your choices in life, really.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take the path that might not be as flashy right now to get those bigger rewards down the road.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked patience. Now let's get to some specifics. Lesson 2 is about tracking what he calls the big 3.
Yeah, these are essential if you want to be in control of your finances. We're talking expenses, savings rate, and net worth. Knowing these numbers like the back of your hand is like having a financial GPS, you know?
Right, and with expenses, he breaks it down: fixed expenses, gotta have it's like housing and bills, and then discretionary, that's where you have some more flexibility.
Right, and it's that 50-60% rule for those fixed costs that a lot of people struggle with. Those non-negotiables, they should ideally be 50 to 60% of your take-home pay, max. That leaves room for savings, investing, and yeah, those guilt-free fun things too.
So what if someone's fixed expenses are way higher than that? Is it like time to downsize their life?
Not always, but it's a sign to take a closer look. Maybe there's somewhere to cut back, or they can renegotiate some bills, find a cheaper option. It's about freeing up more income to reach those financial goals.
Got it. So next up, in the big 3 savings rate, Yang says at least 10%.
Yeah, that's a good target. And even if it seems tough, those small, consistent increases, even just a few bucks extra each week, add up over time, especially with compounding, remember?
Right, right. Last of the big 3, net worth. That's like the big picture of your financial health, am I right?
Exactly. It's everything you own your assets minus everything you owe your liabilities. Tracking that number is a way to see your progress, and it can be super motivating. You know what's cool? Yang actually created a free net worth tracker.
Awesome. So next up, lesson 3, keep investing simple. Music to my ears, because I'm no finance whiz.
Yeah, Yang is so right on this one. Too many ETFs or individual stocks, it just gets too complicated, and you might even end up with overlapping investments without realizing it.
So how do we simplify? What's a good way to start?
A lot of those index tracking ETFs are already well diversified. 1 to 3 of those can be plenty. Think of it like a meal, right? You want to mix the nutrients. You don't need to use every single ingredient.
I like that analogy. And speaking of simplicity, Yang threw out some data that really surprised me.
Yeah, he mentioned that the simple S&P 500 ETFs, the ones that just track the 500 biggest companies in the US, they've actually done better than 92% of those fancy active fund managers over the past 15 years.
Wow. That's a big wake-up call for anyone trying to chase those hot stock tips, huh? Okay, lesson 4, and this one hits home. Don't buy depreciating assets with borrowed money. Anyone who's ever tried to sell furniture or electronics secondhand knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Yang told this story about trying to sell his old couch on Facebook Marketplace for way less than he paid. And it's so relatable. It shows you how fast some stuff loses its value.
So you're basically paying interest to lose money when you borrow for those things that depreciate quickly, right?
Exactly. It's about understanding the difference between those assets that go up in value over time, like a house or investments, and the things that just go down, you know?
Right. So what are some things we should avoid financing?
Think cars, clothes, gadgets, that super nice espresso machine you've had your eye on. They all tend to lose value pretty fast. It's not about not having nice things. It's about being smart with your money.
Okay, lesson 5 is where my mind was blown. The 20-year rule of investing.
Yang brings up this research from the Of Dollars and Data blog, and it found that historically, Any 20-year period you look at, U.S. stocks have always gone up, even with dividends factored in.
So basically, time is on our side when it comes to investing.
It definitely suggests that playing the long game can pay off. The longer you hold on to those investments, the more likely you are to ride out the dips, and come out on top in the end.
But that doesn't mean just throw money at the market without doing any research, right?
No, definitely not. This isn't about blind investing. It's about understanding that time and patience are key. Do your research, choose investments that make sense for your goals, and stay informed about what's happening in the market.
Makes sense. All right, lesson 6, and this is where we gotta hustle. Saving trumps returns, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah, Yang really drives home the importance of building that initial nest egg. Early on, it's more about putting money aside consistently than chasing those big returns.
And he even used an example to show how this works, right? A calculator from this 4-Pillar Freedom blog. It showed that if you save $133,000 over 6 years, even with a modest 7.5% return, you end up with a $101,000 profit. But here's the kicker. 77% of that profit comes from your savings, not from the market gains.
Yeah, it's a powerful illustration. The act of saving is a huge part of building wealth, like building a foundation before you put up the rest of the house.
Okay, lesson 7, and this is my kind of strategy. Embrace boring investing.
Yang is all about taking the emotion out of investing. Trying to time the market, chasing after the hot stocks, stressful, and it often backfires. Slow and steady, that's where it's at.
He even shared this funny quote from his podcast with Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money. Remember him? The quote was, "Successful investing is when you lose the password to your investment account."
Haha, I love that. Set it and forget it. That's the key.
So we're talking dollar cost averaging, sticking to your plan, and avoiding those knee-jerk reactions when the market goes up and down.
Exactly. Create a system that works for you and let it do its thing.
All right, lesson 8 is all about tuning out the noise and running your own race, financially speaking.
That's a big one, especially nowadays with social media. So easy to compare yourself and feel like you're not doing enough.
Yeah, Yang warned against that trap. Everyone's financial journey is different, right? Different goals, different values, different circumstances.
Absolutely. Focusing on your own path, what works for you, that's what leads to better decisions and less stress. Define success on your own terms.
Okay, speaking of comparisons, lesson 9 is about this term, the 30K millionaire.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. It's someone who earns decent money, but spends it all trying to look richer than they are, trying to keep up appearances, even if it means going into debt or living paycheck to paycheck.
Fancy car, designer clothes, but behind the scenes, they're struggling. Recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like this concept in the book, The Millionaire Next Door. They found that true wealth comes from living below your means, not trying to impress everybody else.
It's a good reminder, financial security and happiness aren't about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about making choices that align with your own values and goals.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final lesson, number 10. Risk is personal. What might be risky for one person might be totally fine for someone else.
This is where we got to think critically and really know ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yang emphasized this. We shouldn't blindly follow advice, even from experts. Do your own research, figure out your own risk tolerance, and then make the choices that are right for you.
So there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to personal finance.
Nope, definitely not.
Yeah.
Your risk tolerance, your goals, how long you're planning to invest for, it all plays a role.
So it's about being actively involved in managing your finances, not just blindly following what someone else says.
Right. It's about understanding why you're doing what you're doing, making informed choices.
That makes sense. We've covered a lot here. Delayed gratification, tracking your money, keeping investing simple, and recognizing that risk is different for everyone.
What I really like about Yang's advice is it's not just about the how-to, it's about the mindset too.
Aligning your choices with your values and goals.
Exactly. It's about building a life that is both financially secure and personally fulfilling. And speaking of that, it's interesting how Yang keeps coming back to this idea of financial freedom being about having choices. It's not just the numbers, it's what those numbers let you do, you know?
Yeah, you're right. It's not just about like retiring early and sitting on a beach, although, hey, for some people, maybe that is it. But it's about having options.
Exactly. Could be the freedom to chase a passion project, or start your own business, travel the world, spend more time with family. Financial freedom gives you that power to make your life meaningful, whatever that looks like for you.
And so it's like your money goals have to line up with your life goals, you know? Not just focusing on the money itself, but what it lets you do with it.
Right. And that takes a different kind of thinking, not just crunching numbers. You got to know your values, your priorities, what makes you happy, what does a fulfilling life look like for you? That's the question.
It's not about living like a monk, never spending money just to save every penny. It's about finding that balance, being secure financially, but still enjoying life, having those experiences.
I agree. It's about making choices. How you spend your money, your time, your energy. That's where I think Yang's advice really shines. He doesn't just say, do this or don't do that. He makes you think about the why behind it. He wants you to be in control.
To be empowered, yeah. Make your own decisions, not just follow some rule book.
Exactly. And I think that's something a lot of people are looking for, that sense of control over their finances and building a life that feels right for them. And on that note, Yang touches on something that often gets missed, that emotional side of money.
Yeah, we don't always make the most logical choices with money, do we? Emotions can definitely play a role.
For sure. Our feelings about money can mess with our best intentions. Think about those impulse buys when you're excited or stressed, or making investment decisions based on fear, or, getting greedy. We've all been there.
It's not even just spending. Sometimes it's that anxiety that comes with money, the fear of messing up, the pressure to keep up with everyone else. It can be a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's where understanding your money mindset is important. Yang encourages us to look at those beliefs we have about money. Deep down, where do those come from?
So it's not just knowing the strategies, it's knowing yourself, how you think and feel about money.
Exactly. It's different for everybody. You got to unpack those past experiences, what you learned growing up, your values. Maybe for some people, it's about overcoming those limiting beliefs about wealth. Or maybe it's about learning to manage that financial anxiety.
Sounds like a lot of work. Where do you even start with all that?
It can feel overwhelming, but there are resources out there. Books, podcasts, therapists who specialize in this, financial coaches. It's about finding those triggers and learning to deal with them in a healthy way.
So it's okay to ask for help if you're struggling with that emotional side of money.
Definitely. A lot of times that's the key to breaking free from those patterns that are holding you back. Your financial well-being is connected to your emotional well-being,
It's all connected. It's a good reminder that personal finance is a journey, not a destination. There will be those ups and downs, but the important thing is to keep learning and growing and be kind to yourself along the way.
Love that. Progress, not perfection, right? And it's a reminder that financial freedom isn't just about having a ton of money. There's more to it than that.
Right. It's about having the resources, the knowledge, and the right mindset to make a life that's true to you. And speaking of knowledge, Yang talks about something really crucial in today's world: financial literacy. It's so important. There's so much information out there, it's hard to know what to trust. You got to be able to understand all that financial jargon and make good choices.
Yeah, with everything getting more and more complex, it feels like you need those skills more than ever, right? To understand the system, what the risks are, and how to make smart decisions.
For sure. It's not just balancing your checkbook or picking stocks. It's about being a smart consumer. Being able to understand those financial products and services, those terms and conditions that nobody reads, and knowing how to stand up for yourself.
To feel confident and in control instead of being intimidated.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that financial literacy is a lifelong thing. Things are always changing, so you gotta keep learning and adapt. Luckily, there are tons of resources out there to help us do that.
So where do you think people should start if they want to improve their financial literacy? There's so much available, both online and offline. Books, websites, courses, workshops, even financial advisors. Yang actually has a whole video about this, 21 money lessons he thinks everyone should know. He really practices what he preaches when it comes to financial education.
He's a great example of someone using their platform to do good, especially with the gap in financial literacy being so big between different groups of people.
You're so right. Financial education should be for everybody, regardless of your background. It benefits everyone.
When people are financially empowered, it makes families stronger, communities stronger, and it helps the whole economy.
Exactly. It's about creating a better future for everyone. And it starts with each of us taking the time to learn and to speak up for more financial literacy in our communities.
So it's not just about learning for yourself, it's about building a more informed society.
Yes, exactly. And while we're talking about goals, Yang have another piece of advice that I think is crucial for anyone who wants to take charge of their finances.
You're talking about having a financial plan, right?
You got it. Think of it as your roadmap for your financial journey. It helps you define your goals, see how you're doing, and make those smart decisions along the way.
Being proactive, not just reacting to whatever happens. having a plan for your money instead of letting it control you.
Right. It gives you that sense of control and confidence, helps you make progress toward your goals, like buying a house, retiring comfortably, leaving something for your family.
So a financial plan is definitely important, but where do you even start? It can sound a little intimidating.
It doesn't have to be. There are a few basic steps. First, what are your financial goals? What do you want to achieve? That's where that self-reflection we talked about comes in.
Yeah.
Once you know what you're aiming for, you can start thinking about a budget, a savings plan, an investment strategy.
So goals and then the plan to reach them. And it's not like you make the plan and never look at it again, right?
No, definitely not. It's a living document. You got to review it, adjust it as things change. Your income might go up, your expenses might go up, your goals might change, the market might go crazy. Your plan needs to be flexible.
So have a plan, but be ready to adapt.
Exactly. And remember, financial planning is a journey, not a finish line. Keep assessing, keep adjusting, and make sure your choices are still working for you.
I like that. Taking control, making your own future.
That's what it's all about. So we've covered Yang's 10 lessons. We talked about money mindset, financial literacy, and the importance of having a plan.
A lot of information, but it all comes back to empowering you to take charge of your money and build a life that you want. And, we've talked about some pretty heavy stuff, but there's one more piece of Yang's advice I want to highlight before we wrap up.
What's that?
His focus on being careful with those depreciating assets.
Oh, yeah. That's so relevant, especially now. We're bombarded with ads, social media telling us to buy.
It's easy to get sucked into wanting the latest everything, even if we can't really afford it. Sometimes it feels like we buy things just to keep up with everyone else or to fill some kind of void.
And that's where this idea of mindful consumption comes in.
Mindful consumption, what does that mean exactly?
It's about thinking before you buy. Do you really need it? Will it make you happy, or is it just a fleeting thing? Are you buying it to impress someone, or is it something you truly value?
So it's like shifting from just spending without thinking to being more conscious about our choices.
Yeah, exactly. Being aware of the impact of your purchases on your wallet and on the planet. Making sure your spending habits line up with your values and your goals.
It's about understanding that true wealth isn't about the stuff you have. It's about experiences and making a difference.
I love that. And remember Yang's buy it twice rule? That can help with those impulse buys. If you can't afford it twice, maybe don't buy it once.
Makes you stop and think about the real cost.
And it ties back into that delayed gratification we talked about. Putting your long-term well-being ahead of those quick hits of satisfaction.
So mindful consumption is all about making choices that are good for you, your goals, and your overall well-being.
Exactly. It's recognizing that true wealth isn't just about money. It's about freedom. The freedom to live a life that reflects what's important to you. Full of experiences, relationships, and purpose.
That's a powerful message to keep in mind as we figure out our own financial paths.
Absolutely. So we've explored Yang's 10 lessons. We've gone deep on money mindset, financial literacy, and the power of having a plan.
We've covered a lot of ground, but I think the main takeaway is that you have the power to shape your financial future. Be proactive, make those informed choices, and build a life that feels right, both financially and personally. It really is inspiring, right, to hear someone talk about money in a way that's not just about, getting rich, but about using it to build the kind of life you want.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good reminder that personal finance isn't just about those dry numbers and strategies. It's about making sure your money decisions match up with what you actually care about.
It's like money's a tool, right? It can help you get to where you want to go, live a better life. But it's up to you to decide what better even means and use that tool the right way.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so empowering about all this, taking control of your finances and making choices that align with your values, with your dreams, with what you want your future to look like.
This whole deep dive into Humphrey Yang's 10 lessons has been awesome. We've talked about so much delayed gratification, tracking your finances, simple investing, even understanding your own psychology around money.
It's been a wide-ranging conversation, and I really hope our listeners are feeling motivated to take charge of their money. It's about being proactive, making those smart choices, and creating a life that makes sense for them financially and personally.
It's been a fascinating journey, learning how personal finance can be about so much more than just the technical stuff. It's about living intentionally, making choices that support your goals, and just creating a life that feels truly fulfilling.
I think that's a great takeaway. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this. Personal finance is a journey, not a destination. There'll be bumps in the road, but just keep learning, keep growing, and keep working towards that life you dream of.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Humphrey Yang's advice. We hope you got a lot out of it.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, the best investment you can make is in yourself and your own financial well-being.
That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. Catch you next time for another exciting exploration of knowledge and ideas.